Thank you very much, councillors, for the opportunity to address you again today. I'm here, my name is Michael Walton, I'm President of the Dungowan Alliance. Sorry. Yep. And I'm here to address you on item 7.1 of your agenda today, which is about the data sharing proposal between Tamworth Regional Council and the proposal of a pumped hydro power station in our valley. The name of that company is EDF. So if I refer to them, that's who I'm referring to. Obviously, dam safety is a big issue in our valley. You'll learn tonight that the Dungowan Dam isn't exactly the world's safest dam, and it requires some significant alterations to bring it up to scratch. So to bottom line it for you, the Dungowan Creek Alliance has no problems with Tamworth Council sharing the dam break data for Dungowan Dam with EDF. But we'd suggest that there should be 3 conditions attached to it. The first is that this agreement be strictly limited to sharing of dam safety data, nothing else. The second one is don't give away the data for free. As you consider this, there's no benefit in Tamworth currently for this agreement. We don't need their data, they need ours. So 10 grand, 20 grand, seriously, you're talking about the largest non-government renewable energy project in the entire region. They're working on a budget of over $2 billion at the moment. So this is chicken feed to them. So don't sell the ratepayers short on that. The second thing is, the third thing is, at some point in the future, New South Wales regulators might come to Tamworth Council and say, look, it looks like the pumped hydro is going ahead. You will have to reassess Dungowan Dam, its safety, its risk profile, etc. And so reports will have to be commissioned and they'll have to be paid for by ratepayers. So why should we have to pay for that? Just because the French government wants to build a pumped hydro power station further downstream. So use your leverage, show a little bit of business acumen, and try and get an agreement from EDF that if that ever eventuates, that they will foot the bill. So that we're not left having to commission those reports or pay for those commissioned reports. I know I'm very strictly being limited to time.
You got time?
Yeah. Look, the second thing I wanted to raise is the lack of community consultation when it comes to these big decisions. But I think I'd rather move to my third point. I'll have to leave that one for another day. I want to draw your attention to the annexure that's attached to your briefing note. It's a 1-page document. It's been prepared by the proponent, EDF. It's probably the first document you've seen from this company before council. It's all about their project. It's a summary where they're at and where they think they're headed. I want to draw your attention to item number 6 on that document. It says that EDF is engaging with Tamworth Regional Council for potential water allocation from the existing Dungowan Dam. As we head into drought, this company thinks it's got a good chance to get water out of Dungowan Dam. Now, that, you'll be talking about drought management in the future in this meeting today, but this project is a real risk to Tamworth's water security as we're heading into drought. I can tell you that out in the Dungowan Valley, we're currently in cease-to-pump conditions. So there's no irrigation, there's no moisture in the soil. I've destocked. All my neighbours have either destocked or they're in the process of doing that. For us to have read that this company seriously thinks it's going to get water out of Dungowan Dam, you can imagine how livid everybody actually is. But I think that the inference that can be drawn from this, from what they've written here, is that the discussions between EDF and Tamworth Council have gone way beyond just an information sharing process.
Mr. Walton, I'll have to pull you up there. You've had a bit of extra time.
Yep.
And I have made it very clear to all people that have spoken to me about this that will not happen.
Well, they don't think so.
They can say what they like. I'm just telling you, and I don't normally respond to people that are speaking at public forum, but that's incorrect. We have not entered into any agreement to supply them with water out of the dam.
I'm not suggesting you have. I'm saying they believe it's a real possibility that they might get access. They wouldn't have put it in this document otherwise. So look, I would like the opportunity to talk to councillors. I'd ask you to call me or contact me. We've sent letters, we've sent emails, no one responds. If you could call me and contact me, I would really like you to address this issue at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillors will now move on to the second speaker tonight, and that's Emily Press. If she could come forward.
Good afternoon. So I'm speaking about item number 9.1. So this afternoon, I want to talk to you about this incredible book gifting program that you guys know all about and that you've funded. But I just want you to keep in mind, we're talking about reading as a human right. And all adults need to be able to read to communicate, but we also know children need to be able to read to be educated, and that starts at birth. So I am a proud Tamworth mother. I'm a school teacher. I have an early childhood degree and a background in teacher librarianship. In 2019, my son was born right when the program came to Tamworth. And when I first heard, yes, children get free books, I thought that is too good to be true. And of course, the books started turning up in the mail. And I thought, what a gift for our community that our council is backing. Due to it being my third child, I thought I'm going to document this journey every month because I want all parents to know that this is important and this will make a difference to your baby's life now, but also in their future. And 4 main things came up over the 5 years. My son is now in year 1, and I just want to talk to you about the 4 things that really will make a difference to our community if we can continue funding this program. Firstly, number 1, there are no rules with books. It is very hard to be a parent today. There are things being thrown at us all the time. You must do this, you must do that, and it's hard to know if we're getting it right. Books don't care. You can read a book once, you can read it 5 times in a row. Your son might say, I don't want to read it. That's okay. You can put on funny voices. You can skip pages. All reading counts. And that's amazing for parents to just know, just do it. Just open the book. Secondly, connection. Babies want their primary carer. And when I got home from work and my son would come up to me and hand me a Dolly Parton book, I know that he was saying, connect with me. Can I sit on your lap and can we just enjoy each other? And we connected through words, through the lyrics of the books. The books do all the hard work for our families if we can support them in that capacity to know opening the books matters. Thirdly, this book, when children start school, they will be asked to learn to read, to unlock the English code. And that can be extremely difficult for children who have never been read to. For children that have been read to from the start, from birth, regularly, 4 times a week, according to the research, learning English is not a cause of stress. It unfolds naturally because they've heard their mum, dad, grandma say words. They know that stories have characters and each page has a sentence with words and the words make meaning, and you're being asked to read that word and you know that is a W because you've seen it, and you're talking about the sounds. And what a gift that is for our children in Tamworth to give them that backpack of skills when they walk through the school gate saying, you can do this. And we know that there are low literacy levels in certain areas in town. This is the way to improve that. And it does start with building capacity in our families to say, you can do it. and there's some incredible sleeping community members who want to support parents. We have researchers from UNE, United Way. Tamworth is a gold star for United Way. They have done the research. Beth Boland, who's here tonight, she is willing to go into centres to say, like, to the educators, here are the books. Let's make this a priority in our centres, in our healthcare, and then hopefully the child will then read more at school. Finally, 4th point. Every single month when the book arrived in my mailbox, it was a gift to me and my son that says, my community values me. And how good is that? And we can't get it wrong. So the little investment we have today will make a huge impact tomorrow to give our babies a very strong future. So I'd now like to share my video of the document of the journey. It goes for 2 minutes. And I shared this at Parliament House last November, just to say, is there sound? Oh, it's so much better with sound. No sound? I'd love to send it to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. Could you give me 5 minutes before you leave the building?
Yes,
Thank you. The next speaker is Vanessa Phelps.
Hello.
Just state the item you're speaking to and
It is item 7.3.
Dam Safety Report.
Yes. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I note this business paper places strong emphasis on compliance, risk assessment, independent oversight, and the principle of acting so far as is reasonably practicable to protect the community from harm. Council rightly accepts that where there is potential danger in critical water infrastructure, there must be monitoring, external review, continuous improvement, and accountability under law. My question is this: if Council recognises the importance of independent standards, transparent reporting, and precautionary action when it comes to dam safety, why is the same standard not being applied to the actual water reaching people's homes. For years, I and many other residents have raised serious concerns about the quality of Tamworth's water supply. In my own case, I have suffered recurring ruptures of my eardrum, chronic otitis externa, and chronic suppurative otitis media, rashes on my skin, as you can see right now, and post-surgical wound infections. These issues are linked not only to the drinking water, but to the bathing and showering in the public water supply. I have complained repeatedly to council, spoken publicly at forums, and asked for independent testing, yet testing has remained within council's own systems without the transparent third-party oversight that this community deserves. If independent regulation is essential for dams because the consequences of failure are too great, then surely independent water testing is equally essential when residents are reporting ongoing health impacts. This report repeatedly references legal obligations, duty of care, and the need for objective standards. Those same principles must apply to public health. Water is not just an asset on paper, it is something people ingest, bathe in, and trust every single day. If council can justify millions in reviews, modelling, and external assessments to reduce uncertainty in dam safety, then it can and should justify independent water testing of the water supply itself when credible harm is being reported by the community. The precautionary principle should not stop at the dam wall. It should extend to every household tap. I urge council to commit tonight to commissioning fully and truly independent water testing external to council's own laboratory so that residents can have confidence that their health is being taken seriously and that our water is safe. Also, my last point is this town has a high population of Indigenous residents. We are prone to ear and ENT problems as it is, and this water is impacting a lot of our community. And council need to do something to stop this happening, because some of the eardrops that are prescribed to treat these conditions are not on the PBS. They're $50 a bottle. So every time someone gets an ear infection, they have to go and pay $50 out of their own pocket. Not to mention the creams that are on the PBS. There is a lot of people paying a lot of money out of pocket to treat these ear infections. Then I myself have had wound infections post-surgical because of the water, and they're on major joints. And if that had turned into a deep infection, I could have been in a lot of trouble and I could have been standing here missing a limb. So I hope that council will take this seriously, and hopefully some of you, if or not all of you, have received my letter that I sent last week about my complaint about water safety. And as of this point, I've been on strike from paying my water rates because of this issue, and I will not pay them until this issue is fixed, because why should I be paying for something that is slowly killing me? Because these ear infections can turn into skull infections or orbital sinus infections that turn into periorbital infections that can kill people. And, you know, it's not just me, it's little kids. And little kids don't have great immune systems as it is. So council really need to reflect on it and commission the funds for independent water testing.
Vanessa, I will ask you to pull up there, and you will get some responses from us this week.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And all councillors will see a copy of that response. Next speaker is Graham Carter, who's going to speak on two items. I'll bring Graham Carter to the podium, please. Graham, I'll ask you to speak on one at a time, so you'll be speaking on 7.5 first.
7.5 first, yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you all. I'm part of the Tamworth Water Security Alliance, and tonight I was inspired to come along actually, but to really talk to the good work council's doing. Actually, Bruce Logan's submission to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan Review is really need to be commended for the most part. It really is consistent with what we've been pushing for Tamworth for the past 5 years about water security for Tamworth. His dot points really nail it on their head. And it's something, unfortunately, the Murray-Darling Basin Commission doesn't need to hear this. This needs to be heard at the state government level. And this is really something that we really should be championing more so. It needs to be heard outside that we are being ripped off. The water sharing plan changes have not been enacted, and there's really poor governance of water management across Australia, and that's what we're talking about with the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. But when we talk about it locally and regionally in New South Wales, the buck stops with the state government. We're victims of state government policy. Water sharing plan functioning is managed by the state government, and we need changes. Bruce has succinctly pointed out where these changes should be, and I really commend him for that. And I talk about the one that's really critical to Tamworth Town water supply, and that is the allocation process where we get 100% over the 2 years. This is something that's a no-brainer. It doesn't change the amount of water that's actually being allocated to farmers. It doesn't change anything. All it changes is the priority of access. And the critical human need is the number one priority for our town, for everyone, and we need to be really championing that. And I don't understand why this change hasn't been enacted. We had it in one place. We were fortunate. We had the trifecta. We had our local member being the Water Minister for New South Wales. We had our local federal member being the Deputy Prime Minister. If anything can be achieved, that's the time when we should have had it done. The council supported the idea, put it up, and nothing happened. You know, we've been dudded, but politics out. This is something that we as Tamworth Water Security Alliance really want to help council achieve. We see the frustration, and there's two issues that I'm going to talk to, but make actually one point, basically. We're coming to a drought. We know it's going to happen. The water sharing plans are going to be renewed or need to be renewed by the 1st of July 2026. That's the start of the water year. We need these changes enacted for Tamworth water security. And Bruce puts it succinctly, those points are there. We need to work out why the state government is enacting. And as Water Security Alliance members, we're looking at how we can work with council to champion these changes and actually try and get some things happening on the ground. In the past, I know that the council had a petition with our local member, Kevin Anderson, about getting these changes done. It went nowhere. I don't know why. We didn't get anything happening. So we do have some history we have to overcome, this inertia in government, to make these changes. But it's the people of Tamworth's water.
Can you just come back in a little bit closer to the mic? Yeah.
It's a passion issue. It's the people of Tamworth that really, this is a water security issue that should have been resolved 4 years ago. We've been writing to the Minister. We've been seeking action. The Council has been seeking action. The submission to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan Review further highlights the fact that inertia in government policy, sound decision-making in water planning needs to be done, and we need action to actually make those changes happen. And going through, like, there's a number of points that Bruce has raised. We're supportive in all of them. We do have one slight question about the Cockburn River and the changes there about water access. And the principle is really priority of access. Again, it's downstream river systems need water, and when you have cease to pump rules that stop downstream flow, then that should be something we might need to look at. But invariably for my talk tonight is really encouraging council to go the hard yards, take this to the next level. We need the state government to act. We have to the 1st of July for the water sharing plans to be enacted. They're all logical what Bruce has put up. It is things we need to reiterate to state government. Yes, it's an opportunity to give some information to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, which is a federal body, but the buck stops with the state government. We need to start working out why they're not enacting those policies. And I'd encourage you, just thinking my feet, the council will be starting writing letters to find out what's going on. Where is our state member supporting these changes that we need to have water security for Tamworth? You know, what's going on? We've been left in the dark. And that's really what I want to talk about. So, and as the Water Security Alliance group, we'd like to offer our services, work with council to really try and champion this cause, because it's the people of Tamworth, our residents, that are going to be dudded if this change is not put through.
Thank you. You've probably covered both of those
That was
issues that
the
you had,
ideal,
but you've
yeah.
so you've had you've had a bit more. I'll let you go because you were mixing and matching a bit. So thanks for your support there. And
That's why the work is like policy change is going to feed into better decisions for drought management, and we can't have those policy changes to act not we can sorry without those policy changes the drought management strategy will not work. And so like yeah, unless if they don't make those changes we have to step back to 2017, which is ridiculous.
thanks, Graham. Councillors and members of the public, that brings our public forum to an end with our registered speakers having all spoken. So I'll close public forum and I'll ask everyone to vacate the chamber and prepare ourselves for the council meeting at 6 o'clock. absence, and we have one leave of absence, and that's from Councillor Mark Sutherland. Can I have someone move that we accept that? Councillor Brooks, seconded Councillor Mears. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Could I have someone move the minutes from the previous minute for approval? Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Mears. Council, is there any questions or matters in those minutes that you wish to speak to? There being no matters arising from those minutes, I'll put those minutes as being a true and correct record. All those in favour say aye. Raising your hand. Councillor, thank you. Carried unanimously. We'll go straight to item 3, disclosure of interest. Do we have any disclosures of interest? We have no disclosures of interest. We'll go to no Merrill Minute. We have no Merrill Minute. Notices of motion. We have no notices of motion. We'll go straight into open council reports, and we have nothing in environmental and planning, and we go to item 7, infrastructure and services. We have 7.1. Could I have someone move and second? Move Councillor Rodda, seconded Councillor Budd. Councillor Rodda, you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, while it makes sense to share the requested information with EDF, the state-owned enterprise of France, this company is doing nothing without enriching itself with government grants and subsidies, and I would ask the question, why would we then hand over the information for free? Furthermore, we charge our residents and ratepayers to access information via GIPA requests, and I believe that this company should be no different. And I see that within the body of the report, there's an opportunity potentially to charge a fee of $10,000, and I think I'd be 100% supportive of that. If we require amendment to achieve that, then I'll do so, but I think that we should definitely be charging them a fee. I'm not saying that in the future we can't have some form of MOU with them to determine the way forward with their project or not. But I do think that we should be recouping some of the expense from the report that we gleaned for our own use.
Councillor Rodda, you moved the recommendation as printed and it was seconded. If you wanted to change that, you should have changed it when you...
Well, Mr Mayor, I will then, if you seek your indulgence, if I move it with an amendment that we choose to charge them.
Well, I'll have to ask the seconder, does he support that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I certainly seconded the motion as it stands, but until an amendment's put forward that it can be read and comprehended, then I'll withdraw my seconding. Thank you.
So, Councillor Rodda, you're going to... This is a bit unusual. You're moving that recommendation with the addition of...
That council levies a fee of $10,000.
Councillors, I'll need a seconder for that. Councillor Mears. Do you wish to speak to that any further, Councillor Rodda?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think I've said enough.
Councillors, I'll ask, is there anyone speaking against that? Councillor Budd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The way I see it in the original form was that it may actually be a very strategic move by council to not charge. And I say that because when we eventually get briefed on this entire project, and one day we would hope that we will be, we may actually have to lean upon EDF for information and data which would assist council. So my position is I think the money's already been spent some time ago. It's not coming out of our existing budgets. And I think it's a great strategic move to have a relationship with EDF at the very base level so that we can at least speak and interact as bodies representing community. I think it's a smart move.
Councillor Budd, you're speaking against the recommendation that's been put up. Did you want to move an amendment?
Look, if the amendment's going to be put, then I would vote accordingly, but certainly speaking
Well,
against
no,
it.
Councillor Budd, that's now the motion. That's now the motion. If you wanted to move an amendment to the printed motion, you could move to what's printed if you wished, if I can get a seconder.
Well, look, I would amend it to be the original motion, Mr Mayor.
You want to move the recommendation as printed?
Yes, please.
Do I have a seconder for that?
Mr Mayor, can I just ask a question before we go any further? Through you, Mr
Yes, you
Mayor,
can.
probably for the Water Director. If we were to charge, can we also, is it possible to have a combination of option 3 and option 4? Does that work, or do you think it's one or the other?
Mr Mayor, it's possible to charge EDF for the information we give them, and for at the same time ask them to provide the information that they'll collect on their dam to us free of charge. It's certainly possible to do that. Whether EDF agree to pay the charge that we impose on them, or they agree to pay it and then say, yes, but we're not going to give you our information from the study that we do on our dam, that's up to them. It's important, Mr Mayor, that councillors understand there is some value in the data that we have that EDF need, and there is some value in the data that EDF will have that we will need to complete our dam safety review. But it's a matter for council whether they want to take the risk of charging and then not, and then perhaps EDF don't provide the information that they wanted, that we need.
So, councillors, we have a recommendation in front of us.
You need a seconder for the amendment, I think. So the
I
amendment
called for a
is-
second and for the amendment, we didn't get one.
so the amendment-
Councillors, those to speak in favour of the motion as printed on the screen? Anyone else wishing to speak against the motion as printed on the screen?
Question again, sorry, Mr Mayor. What's to happen if we vote against that motion that's on the screen? Does that nullify the sharing of any information at all?
Councillor North, if you don't like what's on the screen and you want to move an amendment, you can. Or you can vote against it and then we're no further in front. It'll have to come back at some point in time. Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I'm just wondering where the $10,000 figure came from. And is it just an arbitrary figure? Is it something that was plucked out of the air? Could it be more sensible to simply authorise, as we do from time to time, authorise the Mayor and General Manager to negotiate a fee for our knowledge and our information and our data, our intellectual property? Would that be something to consider, rather than having a fee that's set out in figure terms, for instance?
Councillor Impey, this is a matter that's come before council and it's come before council in a report form because it's something that we as a council need to make a decision on. It's not something for the General Manager and the Mayor to make a decision on. It's come to this council to make a decision on. Are we prepared to give that organisation the information that they need, that we have? And what we have in front of us now is a recommendation that we give them that information but charge them a fee for it.
Yep. I will look at 10,000 to me is a drop in the ocean for a $2 billion project. Am I able to talk on something else in relation to this item, Mr Mayor? Just it discusses in the body of the report that there will be an EIS, environmental impact statement. Would that environmental impact statement, given we have had some background with other projects in our region where information wasn't forthcoming, would that EIS be put together by an independent body so as to ensure...
Councillor Impey, that's up to the proponent to put forward to present or construct an EIS.
Yep.
And they do that with whatever consultants they choose, and they would pay those people to do that work.
okay.
And we have no say in any of that. It actually is presented. It'll end up in government to get with the New South Wales government.
I just have fears that our road network, I mean, this is years down the track, but I have fears that our road might be a forgotten network, might be a forgotten piece of infrastructure. And yeah,
Councillor Impey, we'll have a time into the future when that is put forward to make some comments, but at this point in time, it's up to that organisation to make their own decision.
Yep. And just one last question, Mr Mayor. Can we confirm then in relation to that point number 6 on the EDF flyer that there have been no conversations indeed or no agreements as the flyer, well, depending on how you read it, point number 6, water access, ongoing hydrological modelling and engagement with Tamworth Regional Council for potential water allocation. I mean, that looks to me that it can be taken both ways. So guess we're just looking at a confirmation on the record that there have been no conversations with EDF at this stage on that.
Councillor Impey, there has been conversations with EDF. None of those conversations have been around us giving them water out of the Dungown pipeline. Personally, I'm totally opposed to that, and it would affect the water security for the city, so no. Councillor Rook.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I know Councillor Budd's amendment did lapse, but I do share Councillor North's concern that if this move motion were to fail, we'd be stuck in limbo. So just considering that, I'd like to broadcast that if this motion is tested and is lost, I intend to move the recommendation as a separate item or a separate motion.
Councillor Brook, it's really, that's a long way around it. I mean, if you wanted to go that way, you should have seconded Councillor Budd's amendment. And if it gets lost, I'll ask the General Manager to explain what's going to happen. Nothing. Pretty much nothing.
Mr Mayor, that will depend whether an alternate motion is moved after this one was defeated. But if there's not an alternate motion, then the decision lapses, the status quo remains, and Council won't provide the information.
Yeah. Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Through your question to the Director, Mr Logan. With the amendment, obviously there's a fee to be imposed. And
Councillor Mears, that's not an amendment, that is a motion.
The motion, sorry. There then is concern that EDF won't share collaboratively the information they have that we need. But if we do charge them a fee, is there anything that says that they would be obligated to provide that information to us on a business basis, or yeah?
Mr Logan?
Is there any commitment to them if we don't impose the cost or the charge, that they then have to give us the information that they gather?
Mr Mayor, EDF don't have to give us we don't have to give them the information, and they don't have to give us the information. That's where we're starting from. It's my view is that it's a matter for council whether they think that if the information that EDF will get is of value to us, will we be less likely to get it if we charge them for our information or not? And if you feel that that risk is worth taking, then you will charge them and ask them nicely, we're going to charge you for this, and we are also requesting that you provide the information back that you gather back to us for our purposes. What they do with that will be a matter for EDF.
So, councillors, did you want to speak?
There we go. Yeah, just through you, Mr Mayor, for the Director, what information would we be after from EDF?
Mr Mayor, the information that we don't know now is we know the general location of their downstream storage. We don't know any of the details about construction, how high the wall will be, what they'll be made out of, where it'll be located relative to the Dungowan Creek, how that will be impacted by a normal floodway from Dungowan Dam. Are they going to do any work at the actual site? That I mean, if they build a Turkey's Nest dam above the ground, then that will be impacted by a floodway from Dungowan Dam, and that may create additional flood impacts downstream if both dams collapse. If they build a dam in the ground for whatever reason, there may be less impact from a flood from Dungowan Dam. So that and again, if we find out that information, then the impact of that on our own flood study or dam break study for Dungowan Dam will be necessary for us to understand what the full impact of Dungowan Dam failing would be on the community and the infrastructure downstream. So we will have to get that information.
Councillors, we've all spoken, so I'm bound to put the recommendation to the vote. I'll just remind all those councillors, we did have a speaker in public forum that actually spoke in support of this recommendation. But councillors, put all those in favour of the recommendation as printed, raise their hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed? 3, 5, 3. So the recommendation as printed is now passed. Councillor Brooke, you look confused. Councillors, we'll now move on to item 7.2. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Brooke, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
Reserve the right, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation as printed? Further comment on that recommendation, Councillor Rodder?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is, demonstrates the inequity of current water policy and pricing. It's quite clear that statewide the New South Wales government doesn't have many money-making assets or options left to raise revenue for Treasury. However, we seem to be the victim of obviously annual charges which are over and above any other valley in the state of New South Wales. As Bruce, the Director for Water and Waste identifies, our residents, ratepayers, business owners and farmers are expected to suffer that increase over any other resident throughout the state of New South Wales, which seems quite unfair. And I believe that if we are to suffer such increased charges from Water New South Wales and WAMSI, I believe this should be dramatically increasing our water security from Chaffey Dam. And as we saw in the last drought, and there's been no amendments to the water sharing plan or the drought of record that I'm aware of, we are about to slip back into drought again. It worries me that the high security licence we currently have in Chaffey Dam is not going to deliver us the water security that we need, despite the 2016 augmentation of that dam. And I reckon, I 100% support making submission to IPART. We probably should be also sharing that with our local MP and the Water Minister to demonstrate our concern that since the conclusion of the 2017-2020 drought, they have not made any material amendments to address what I believe was neglect of Chaffey Dam and other water storages throughout the whole state of New South Wales that would actually address concerns in relation to critical human needs and stock and domestic supply. And so, as we slip back into another drought, if it's not addressed shortly, then we'll be facing similar circumstances to 2017-2020.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Brooke.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I think I'm pretty well in 100% support of everything Councillor Rodder just said then. I sort of would add an additional comment that I agree with the commentary in the report that although it might seem in vain to put in a submission to IPART, any lack of submission could be interpreted as that we approve of this pricing. So we have a voice and the ability to use it here, and so I'm fully in support of making the submission against this draft charging.
Further comments, councillors? No further comments. I'll just make one comment. I think pursuit of this full cost recovery by valley, which is a methodology that the government through their various departments is approaching this with, is economic suicide for the valleys that are affected, and the Peel Valley is probably the worst. So we will really suffer from that into the future, if not in the near future, certainly the wider future. Councillors, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move to item 7.3 and the dam safety report. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Impey, seconded Councillor Mears. Councillor Impey, you wish to speak to that?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that? The findings there? Recommendation? Anyone much wish to make further comment? There being no further comment, I'll put that to the vote. All those, that motion to the vote, all those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll move to item 7.4. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Sharpen, second Councillor Budd. Councillor Sharpen, you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, just briefly, Mr Mayor. It was good to be able to meet with the Murray-Darling Basin Authority a few months ago, but I'd also like to congratulate...
Councillor Sharpen, we're on 7.4.
My apologies, I'll sit back.
Any comments?
I'll reserve the right on that one.
Anyone wish to speak? Oh, sorry, we've got a mover and a seconder. Councillor Budd, anyone wish to speak for that? Councillors, anyone wish to speak against that report? Anyone wish to make further comment? No further comment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Where are we? Lost my pages. Count.
33.
I've got a thing here. Yes. Councillors, we'll move to item 7.5, Murray-Darling Basin Review. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Sharpen, seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Sharpen, do you wish to speak to that one?
I'll try again. Thanks, Mr Mayor. So I'd just like to congratulate the Directorate for bringing forward these submissions. It's pretty important that we're part of it, even though we're right at the very top of it. But yeah, looking forward hopefully to seeing a positive outcome for us.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Further comments on that recommendation? Councillor Brooke.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is an item that I'm very much in support of, and I want to take a moment to speak to why it matters. Because the scope of the Murray-Darling Basin Plan review could mean for a drought-prone region like ours was enormous. This is the first time the Murray-Darling Basin Plan has been reviewed since it came into force. The next review after this one won't be for another decade. This is genuinely a once-in-a-decade opportunity for communities like ours to have our voices heard on how water across the basin is managed, and I think it's important that we use it. So I'd like to congratulate Mr Logan and his team for the draft submission. I think it strikes a good balance between the collective concerns of council as an organisation and us as individual elected representatives, and I'm happy to support it. But I also want to briefly speak to a few of those concerns, and also put on record some of my personal views in relation to the Murray-Darling Basin Plan that I think are worth highlighting. Primarily, the plan needs to be fixed in the context of a changed climate. The current plan uses climate data up to 2009, meaning the worst drought years on record are simply not captured in the modelling that underpins it, a fact that we rightfully call out in our submission. Climate change was not meaningfully considered when the original plan was made. It's here now, but the Murray-Darling Basin Authority has proposed to postpone any meaningful response to climate change for another decade. And I think that deserves to be called out for what it is, an extraordinary failure of ambition at the exact moment where ambition is required. Mr Mayor, rivers across the basin are being pumped to the point where they can no longer be connected to each other. Floodplains are being cut off by levees to capture fresh rain and floodwater before it can reach the wetlands that depend on it. Wetlands that have existed for thousands of years are on life support. Native fish and bird species are in rapid decline, and First Nation peoples, the traditional owners of the lands and waters who have managed them for thousands of years, are still largely treated as stakeholders rather than rights holders. Again, a massive failure of ambition to tackle the hard problems that we should be calling out. I also want to commend our questioning of water as a tradable commodity. Our submission supports an inquiry into financial speculation with water, and I strongly support that. Water is a public resource, and the social inequity of allowing it to be a vehicle for financial speculation at the expense of communities, of the environment, and of future generations is something a review of the scale should confront directly. So I'm glad we're making the submission. I'm glad the Murray-Darling Basin Authority came to Tamworth and heard from Council. And I would encourage Council to think of this not as a routine administrative step, but as an act of advocacy on behalf of the people we represent, people who depend on water, who have lived through restrictions, and who deserve a basin plan that reflects the reality of where they live. So I commend the item.
Further comments, councillors? Being no further comments, I'll just make one very quick comment, and that is that we all know that the water has been allocated, the water licences were allocated in the early 2000s or were identified as being more water allocated than can actually flow down those rivers in years of dry. That has impacted on us in the past and will impact on us in the future. Critical human need must be number one in their considerations, and critical human need at this point in time doesn't appear to be number one in these papers that we've been reading. I might ask Mr. Logan if you'd like to report on some of the findings that we've found when we've gone to Murray-Darling Basin meetings.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's right. Well, I think it's right to think that the authority, or at least the staff of the authority, do agree that there hasn't been enough emphasis on critical water for critical human needs in the current plan, and I think that based on that there probably will be some change in upcoming reviews. I can't guarantee that, but that's the feeling that I get from what the discussions that we've had. Other than that, I'm not sure there will be. I'm not sure what other changes you might see in the plan. I will say it's very, very difficult to make everyone in the Murray-Darling Basin happy, and if that's their goal, they won't achieve their goal. They are going to have to make some difficult decisions as an authority. And then there's another complication, is that the rules that they make have to be implemented and enforced by the states, and they have to have cooperation of the states to enforce those rules. So it's certainly not an easy area to be playing in, and it's very significant policy that they're dealing with.
Thanks, Mr. Logan. To get 4 states to agree on water, virtually impossible. Councillors, I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll move to item 7.6. Could I have a move and a seconder? Moved Councillor Sharpen, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Sharpen, do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll just point out a few items in the way this has been implemented. I'd like to note that there's been heavy public feedback sought, including 500 residents that were personally telephoned. I think it's really good that the community was involved in piecing all these together over the number of years. I'd like to ask a small question, doesn't need to be part of the recommendation, but is it possible that we could talk to the Water Minister or Water New South Wales, whoever's looking after the current Chaffey Dam pipeline, that we get it serviceable before the next drought? Because I'm aware that there's pumps that haven't been used for 6 years, the pipes will be full of sludge, and we don't want to be in a position where we've got to flush huge amounts of water through during a drought. So I'm just a small question on that.
Just to answer that question, it's probably full of sludge now, but the answer to that question is we've got a meeting with the Water Minister on Wednesday the 6th, already planned, organised today. Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? Councillor North?
I will just back up Councillor Sharpen's comments, and first time I'm actually commenting on anything on the business paper here, and congratulate the Director of Water and Waste Services on his show this time. all the parts on the business paper seem to be relevant to his directorate. But I would like to, one thing when I ran for council, and one of the things I wanted to achieve that I thought was very important to the area was water security. Being on the inside now, it's been heartening to see how much is actually going on, and I think the community doesn't see all of that. I don't know whether we try to promote it, we try to put it all out there, but we just can't convey enough information or all of the information of what's going on. We are doing a hell of a lot, and I think it's quite commendable to the council and the directorate, staff within it, what is going on and how much we are lobbying state government. I've come to realise, I think, the biggest barrier to our water security and what we're endeavouring to do is the state government. I think it's very disappointing what we've been getting from them, sadly. We're pushing hard. The Mayor's been pushing very hard on that and using all his contacts he has. We keep getting promises and then they back down on it. So we can only continue to push for better water security there. I think Tamworth residents, I think we've achieved a lot in the last 20 years with water use. The amount of water we're using is far less per resident or per property now, so we're stretching our water further. It's encouraging, given the prolonged dry period we've had already and how hot the summer's been, that our Chaffey Dam storage is at 91%. I think that's a great sign. So we're making our water go further, which is good to see. So I'd just like to remind everyone of that great job that's going on.
Further comments, council? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and I do agree with what fellow councillors has said already on this topic. Water is a critical human need and it needs to be managed accordingly. I think we are at a situation at the moment where water in our catchments is still reasonably healthy, but of course we all talk about a potential drought forming. Just from data, Chaffey is sitting at, well, it was 91%, it's sitting at 89% today. Dungowan Dam 60%, Split Rock 94%. So that's 81% of our total storage capacity at the present time, as compared with the regional New South Wales dams level. And collectively, you're sitting at 46%. So we're above the state average at the moment, which is where we'd like to stay. But as we've seen in the past, we did see in 2016 to 19, our dam went from 100% to somewhere in the order of, I think it was 13% from memory in a very short space of time, in a matter of 2 years or 2.5 years. I hope that there has been some lessons learnt in how the water is managed by our state government. They own it. It is their water. We are merely a customer. And as as Councillor North has said, our residents are using water even more wisely than what they were in 1996. We're using less water as a city of Tamworth than what we did even back then. And that's allowing for a population increase of somewhere in the order of 15 to 20,000 people. So we're doing well. And I applaud and congratulate the residents on that. But we also need the state government to play their part, as councillors playing their part, and as residents are playing their part.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I just will make one, and that is that the residents and the businesses in this city have played a vital role in actually ensuring that the water usage per residence or per business has reduced considerably. And in speaking with Mr Logan in recent times, the water usage back in around that 2000, 2002 or 3, in the really hot, dry times, we were using up to 60 megalitres per day. In the hot, dry February that we've just been through, towards the end of February, I think we were between 35 and 42, if I'm correct, Mr Logan. So the city has grown considerably in that last 20 odd years, but we're using a lot less water. So we're water smart, we're water wise, and a lot of that goes to the way that people are operating, the people are doing their work. And I will also say that the council's plan to subsidise water saving devices has really assisted in that space as well. So we've worked very well together, but we also have to understand that we can save as much water as we can within the city, but it's up to the government then to manage what's left. So with that few words, I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Raising their hands. Those opposed, carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll go to item 8.1. I've got a recommendation there. Could I have somebody move that? Move Councillor Mears, second to Councillor Brooke. Councillor Mears, you wish to make comment, speak to that?
I reserve the right, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? Councillor Sharpen.
Only briefly, I'd just like to note that we are performing above the industry average, and so I'd like to congratulate staff on that.
Further comments, councillors? Councillors, I'll put the motion. All those in favour of the motion, raise your hands.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now go to item 9.1 in community services. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor North, second to Councillor Mears. Councillor North, you wish to speak to that?
I will briefly, Mr Mayor. I didn't come prepared for this, but I will say that it's a fantastic initiative, this. We heard a speaker before council earlier help with some of the facts that are out there, and it's a wonderful initiative, and I think the thing that needs to be put out there, Dolly Parton gives her name to this but doesn't contribute financially, so I think that we need to be aware of that, and council is going, I think, above and beyond with this. We need to, you know, we contribute a lot of money. We get a lot of support from the community financially and from people and staff, and but we probably need to start to really look at seeing how much we're contributing towards this, how long we do it for. We're not getting any assistance from the state government. I personally believe that we should be getting something. It's really is one of those overreaches that we continue to do in supporting our residents. That is probably an education department. They should be putting up more, I think, and I suspect most of us here believe that. But if nonetheless, I'm pretty excited to be moving this motion, because I can remember sitting there with my son and daughter most days when they were young. We never got the books. I don't know. I'm not sure what and why. Well, actually, 15 or 17 years ago. No, that's why. But we certainly did the reading to the kids, and I think the results. We got some wonderful educated young children, and it stems back to the way we read to them continuously and the joy we had in that. So I think we should be supporting it, but we certainly need to start to have a debate on how much we look to going forward, given the tight budgetary constraints that we now face over the next few years.
There was a question that needs to be read. Question and answer.
Councillors, I do have a question in front of me, and I'm going to ask Karen to read that question and give the answer.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. There was one question from Councillor Charles Impey in relation to this item on the business paper. The question is, I'm interested to clarify one matter on item 9.1. The recommendation is to find $200,000 for this year to help meet funding needs for the Imagination Library. However, later in the report it mentions council will need $370,000 to meet funding needs beyond this year. Does this mean we are likely to lose to find $170,000 in existing funding support from the likes of JPL, etc., which is why the council contribution jumps from $200,000 up to $370,000? And the response to that question for Councillor Impey is that the report asks, as per the recommendation, for ongoing financial support of $200,000 from council, with the remaining $177,000 plus will come from the community. Council have given a $200,000 contribution for the last 2 financial years, and therefore the report is simply asking for this amount again. The reference of $377,000 plus is simply in the report so the community are aware of the total cost of this program, and to remind the community that Dolly does not fund, and it is funded by council and the community. Council will never be asked to fully fund this program.
Further questions, councillors? Councillor Sharpen.
Just another comment, Mr Mayor, but we've seen nearly 200,000 books distributed around the community, but I'd also like to acknowledge that there's a lot of financial support come from businesses around the town. including the Tamworth Regional Council staff. And that forms $170,000, and I think that's really something to congratulate to the businesses in Tamworth, really looking at their own and making sure the education is happening. But I'd also particularly like to acknowledge Lisa in her works to actually get those extra funding from businesses. I'm sure it's not easy to go and knock on doors, but she does it.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the response to that question. I support the recommendation wholeheartedly. My question was just in terms of the ongoing cost of the program into the future. It suggests it was $370,000, so it's really just a clarification question. As our speaker mentioned earlier, reading is a human right. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be a human right always in all households, but this program ensures that it can be a human right in all households, or at least in, I think, 99% of households. There's been a 99% uptake in this program, which is brilliant. The social benefits for children growing up with a much higher understanding of the English language, an advanced understanding of the communication of the English language is critical. The mental health benefits also of a young person growing up able to communicate more effectively with others is a strength. And these strengths and these benefits come from a program that reaches all parts of the community of all of our local government area. And children, as we saw briefly in a video earlier this evening, in the video, the child was waiting in the letterbox with a smile on his face. It would have been so wonderful to hear the vision rather than just watch it, but I believe a copy of that is going to be sent to us because the children of our community are our future of our community, and if we can support the children of our community to become even more well-rounded residents, and as they become teenagers and approach those critical years with a strong understanding of, or stronger understanding of that English language, can only benefit our community in going forward. This program has been running, I believe, for 7 years, I think. So we really haven't seen the benefits yet until such time that those children make their way through primary school and into those early adult years of those, well, teenage years. A lot of teenagers think they're early adults, but teenage years, so that they can provide something back to our community in terms of the will and the want to contribute, to work, to be employed, to become part of our community wholeheartedly, so that our community grows and becomes a better place for it.
Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I similarly have same concerns as Councillor North about other governments funding this. However, what I'd like to see, as we do move forward, that potentially this $200,000 we could add CPI, so it increases in value. And if we get additional funding from other forms of government, business or anywhere else, that will boost this program. I mean, as we all know from research, that $1 spent by council on educating our children is $7 earned. So we will lift people up. You know, it's about putting your hand out and bringing them up to the next level. And every time someone steps to the next level, they earn more, they spend more, they can buy houses, and it's an absolute benefit right across the region. So, and at a cost of, you know, approximately, I think it's $3 per head per resident, including children, $200,000. Although it is a substantial amount, realistically, as an education incentive, is a pittance. And that kind of money can bring our kids up to the next level or the levels above, and, you know, the Tamworth can continue to grow, bring, you know, great businesses into town because those children will be here, they can read, they're educated, and hopefully they can take some of those incredibly good jobs that will come in the future or that are already here, other than have to continually bring people in from the outside.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Budd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm in support of the entire program. What essentially this does is, when a child receives these books, and by the time they get to kindergarten, and I'm sure Lisa will correct me if I'm wrong, that child is 12 times better off and more prepared to engage in education from that very point. So that puts our community at an absolute advantage in terms of where those kids are going to be. And the comment was made tonight, 7 years, we haven't quite seen the full outcome of this yet, but in 10 years' time, we're going to have kids who are better suited for further education, better to bring those kids back to us with that education later on because they've had the opportunity up earlier. But I do think, as with a few items we discussed over the last few weeks, this should perhaps become a line item within our budget, so they're not going back into reserve and to actually budget for into the future, but I'll leave that in the hands of those that know better. But it's a program that's going to continue to benefit our community, and I suggest it should be in that line item in our budget. Thank you.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll just say that despite the research and data that's been collected on this that has actually demonstrated after 5 years of this there is a considerable improvement in literacy levels within the young ones, the government has continued to remain hesitant in trying to find a funding stream to help with these programs, and I can understand to some degree why, but I think it's a shame. I think it would actually help with the educational system across the state. Councillors, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye and raise your hand. Motion carried. Councillors, we'll move to item 9.2, Tamworth Regional Arts Advisory Committee. Could I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Brooke, seconder Councillor Mears. Councillor Brooke, do you want to speak to that?
Reserve the right, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation as printed? Anyone? Any comments? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of observations from the report. Now, I couldn't make it to the meeting that it was reported on. I was away for a work-related activity, but I am on that committee. The museums recorded 7,876 paid admissions throughout the year, with volunteers contributing 1,760 hours for July through to December 2025. Now, as we know, Mr Mayor and fellow councillors, we do operate as a community off the back of volunteerism. Take volunteers out, and that does not happen. So well done to those volunteers. The gallery received 23,680 visits, with volunteers contributing 320 hours for July through to December 2025. Again, without volunteers, we probably don't see those visitors coming into the gallery. And we know how an impressive gallery that is, Mr Mayor. And one other figure that really caught my eye was the 5,000 attendees at the Christmas Carols event supported by Bayada. Well done to the team who put that event on. I was fortunate enough to be there, and I loved every minute of it, and so did 5,000 other people in our community. So well done.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation of the motion as printed. All those in favour say aye. Raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Councillors, that completes open council. And before I ask for a motion to move into closed council, I'll ask the General Manager, has either of those two items in closed? Has there been a request to bring them into open?
No, Mr Mayor.
And there is any from the audience? No, there isn't. So, councillors, could I have a motion to move into closed council? Move Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Impey. All those in favour? Carried.
Did you want me to confirm with the councillors? It's a trick.
On matters in closed council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this report of the closed section of the ordinary council meeting held on the 28th of April. In closed council this evening, you considered 2 items of business, and for both of those items, you adopted the recommendations as per your business paper.
Could I move that that be and seconded? All those councillors in favour? I'll declare the meeting closed. Karen, did you want to ask that question?